I'm going to start, before I get into the changes in process for intellectual property development and what we're doing as a service to make this a better process for all of our researchers, I want to talk about the impact of patent literature. I do have a 3.5-year-old daughter, you can tell, and this is how I like to show that it is a whole new world out there. And yes, that is the theme song for Aladdin, right? That's Gia, my daughter, would get really mad at me if I got that wrong. But it is a whole new world, right? Because patent literature, the language and terminology used in patents is very, very different than the language and terminology used in academic literature. It is strategic. A single word can give less coverage to an idea or an invention. If you think about what you can own or what you disclose, let's say, in an academic paper, that doesn't necessarily mean you own that piece if you file a patent on it because of the language that you choose, right? You can own more than that. The space, think about it like a little bubble, and you can expand that bubble by use of words. So when we look at our portfolio, to be honest, it's a bunch of really key words, right? This is our portfolio, frankly. This is the UK portfolio right here in words. The larger the word, the more prevalent that word is in our portfolio. And then we've got some coding here for different colors that shows relationships between some of the words. But I bring this up only to show that words really, really matter in patent literature. Because if we take all those words and then start to draw relationships around them, which is how you develop licensing opportunities, we're looking at what words, what keywords matter to other keywords, right? And can we draw relationships between them to look at non-obvious market applications, new market applications, licensing opportunities, companies that would be interested. So this is, again, our portfolio by keyword relationship-based, ways that we're looking at sort of what we have in our static portfolio to find cross-market applications, but even more importantly than just the applications, but who owns those applications, right? So if we draw on top of that keyword relational map and then look at the companies that matter to that, because everyone in this room is very familiar with citations and sources in academic literature. Citation analysis in patent literature is really, really important. Every patent has to reference things that come before it. And frankly, again, it's about carving out space. Think about patent literature as carving out little blocks of space because you reference things that come before you and you're saying ours is related to that, but it's different than that by some express incremental benefit or incremental change that we're disclosing or claiming in our patent. So if we take citation analysis of our portfolio, the things that are related to each other, and then we show, based on those relationships, who else has patents related to our relationships, related to our patents, using this citation analysis, this is what we look at, right? And again, it all depends on the prevalence and the relationships between keywords that you can find in patents. And that's how licensing happens. Now, what I want to say before I move on to this quickly is that we are offering a faculty education program to each college. We'll come and do a more intimate sort of discussion. We've done this now with the College of Engineering to dig into this a lot deeper, using case studies and examples to show how the use of language within patents is very different than academic literature, and how we can actually help research potentially through by studying the patent landscape, by studying patents that are relevant to really understand who's already been there potentially, or who is around your research, and can either be help by collaborating with them, or help by just looking at what they're doing and differentiating somehow. This is evidence of why this stuff matters, why why patent literature as a whole matters a lot to academic literature, because these are the companies, right, that we would like to partner with, right? Whether we're licensing to a startup that ultimately wants to sell or get bought by one of these companies, or if we're licensing to one of these companies, just know that they care more about the patent literature than they do the academic literature. This is their publishing, right? 90% of patents are owned by companies, and companies incentivize patents, right? And these are programs that some of the companies that we know very well, they have, they call them fellowships, they call them collegians, they call them, what else they call them? They recognize excellence. They call it the Carleton Society at 3M. So they reward inventorship, right? But inventorship is based on the number of patents that someone can come up with and file that actually are used in products. So all of these companies are incentivizing patents, and this is what they care most about. Because it's important to us that we understand. So these are the four things that require a patent. So to publish an academic paper requires novelty, some proof of concept, data, you've done some testing, and you want to share that with the world. In patents, we need novelty. It has to be patentable subject matter, but I want to focus on these two because these are the two really that we're looking at when you have an invention disclosure to us. But beyond new, which is something that we'll take as an assumption because of the academic literature, what we have to find out is it useful, right? So while academic literature can be a good barometer for novelty and new to the science, right, to the scientific community, is it useful is a requirement. Having utility is a requirement to get a patent for that invention, right? So you have to prove not only is it new, but it has some utility, some public benefit, advantageous over an alternative, and different, of course. And that's why it's important to look at this, understand that the impact that patent literature can have on academic literature, and even can be a resource for our researchers before they even get to invention disclosure. Just the message that I was just conveying. Academic publications is an indication of new, but this is how we look at an indication of utility, a patent thicket, right? And this might be sort of contrary to intuition or common thinking, right? You think about, I want to carve out something new because no one's there, right? If no one's thinking about this, that means now it's mine. Well, the way that we think is we want other people to be thinking about this because that means it's important to industry. Right? If this is something totally new, a totally new market, a product no one's ever seen before, there may not be a demand, right? We can presuppose demand, however, if we look at what you've disclosed to us and we look at the patent thicket and see actually there's 20 companies that are really doing really close work, right? And ours is different and has utility, even better, right? However, if we did a patent landscape and your patent was right in the middle and there was nothing around, it may be difficult to show utility. Having some usefulness to a market, some market demand. So this is how we try to measure utility. Is there a patent thicket and are we differentiating from it?